12 News Eye on Agriculture with Brityne Rucker.
How are global grain trends shaping Kansas farming? Tonight, we're breaking down the impact on local producers, cash market drivers, and expert advice on navigating unpredictable futures. Plus, Kansas farmers not holding out hope for a new farm bill. Hear from one lawmaker who says he's frustrated with the lack of progress. Good evening and welcome into Eye on Agriculture. I'm Brityne Rucker. Today marks the 3 years since the four-county fire tore through central Kansas. Over 163,000 acres burned, dozens of homes destroyed, and 2 lives tragically lost. But amid the heartbreak came a story of resilience and community. I went out to Paradise, Kansas, and has how the community is still recovering today.
Well, nothing you could do. It's just helpless feeling.
The four-county fire devastated communities in just 24 hours, driven by hurricane-force winds. Families lost everything from homes, livestock, and even loved ones. The fire swept through towns like Paradise, leaving destruction in its path. Farmer Richard Shemanek and Derek Kelly lost their lives trying to protect others. The Thompson family had endured 2 years of unimaginable hardships. In 2019, Brett Thompson broke his back in a fall. Months later, their daughter Brene broke her hip after being trampled by a cow. And in 2021, Brett's seizure caused a wreck, followed by a flood in May. Then came the fire.
That was the most devastating thing, and I'm very thankful my dad could not see what we went through.
Brett, who got stuck in the fire, lost his eyesight for 3 weeks. Meanwhile, Brene tended to injured cattle.
The amount that were laying there, blown up from, and the ones that were still alive, that were suffering and mad, they were charging the vehicle, and we had to kill them before they killed us. There goes our livelihood.
Along with 200 head of cattle, the Thompsons lost their home, vehicles, pasture, and family memories that day. Neighbors and strangers alike rallied, donating hay, money, and supplies.
We are just south and west of the town of Paradise.
KDBCH and its partners raised $1.9 million to help families rebuild barns, fences, and homes.
Help came from everywhere. That was what was really awesome. If it wouldn't have been for that, I don't know. We'd had to probably sold everything.
3 years later, and the Thompsons are finally thinking about rebuilding their home, fixing fence, and slowly building back up their cattle herd. As they look towards the future, they still look back on the kindness of Kansans.
This time is a time of giving, and we really saw that. And there's still good people in the world when, your world's falling apart. The Thompsons say there were many challenges, from recovering financially to rebuilding their cattle herd, but the biggest challenge they're still dealing with has been the emotional toll the fires took on their mental health. Farmers and ranchers are keeping an eye on Congress now, which is yet to pass a new farm bill. Some Kansas agriculture organizations say it's unlikely a new farm bill will pass this year. It's more likely we'll see an extension of the previous bill, which was passed back in 2018. Representative Tracy Mann and the House Ag Committee passed its version of the farm bill in May of this year, but the measure stalled in the Senate.
I've been very frustrated with the slowness of this farm bill. I've been on the floor of the House 33 times now, urging the rest of Congress to get serious about getting a 5-year farm bill passed and locked in.
The 2018 farm bill expired back in 2022, but lawmakers issued a 1-year extension when they couldn't agree on a new one. That extension ended in September. Without any action, funding for agricultural programs will start to run out by the end of the year. The agriculture sector is buzzing with reaction to Brooke Rollins' nomination as the next U.S. Agriculture Secretary. Rollins, tapped by President-elect Donald Trump, is a Texas native with farming roots and a degree in agricultural development. But her lack of experience in agriculture policy has sparked some debate. Critics say she's an unknown in the field, while others see her nomination as unconventional. And U.S. Senator Roger Marshall getting behind on her nomination. In a media release, Marshall says he shared his top priorities with Rollins on Monday, including preserving crop protection tools, expanding trade opportunities, lowering input costs, and supporting rural development. Marshall says Rollins will, quote, to put our farmers and ranchers first. Coming up on Eye on Agriculture, we look at how Kansas farmers are protecting their livestock amid an increase in bird flu cases.